too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so welcome to the news episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Adeep Mahmood, and here's my normal co-host, Hunter. And today we're going to be talking about some NFL news, some Ravens Steelers news, preview the opening day, Buccaneers Cowboys, and then we're going to talk about the Hokies win against UNC and preview Middle Tennessee, and then we're going to briefly talk about the state of the ACC and the quarterback market. So let's start off with the Ravens Steelers. The big news is that unfortunately Gus Edwards and looks like Gus Edwards and Marcus Peters have torn ACLs. So to recap, their Ravens starting they now have
There you
three
go.
running backs missing the whole year with either an
Yeah, got to
Achilles.
do the tweet. Do the tweet. August 28th, September 2nd,
Yep.
and now September 9th, basically. So that's just, I don't think I've ever seen three running backs tear their ACL in like a week and a half. That's just insane.
Yeah, but I would say this. I've seen a lot. So I don't think this ends the Ravens season mainly because they were very proactive because they made the first. They went out and we'll talk about Mark Andrews' contract extension, but they went out and they had Tyson Williams and they went out got Le'Veon Bell, and Le'Veon Bell I think is going to continue to be a good. I think he's going to have a career. I'm not going to say career has. I think he's going to have a stronger year because when you think about it, Le'Veon Bell is going to go from Ben Roethlisberger, a immobile quarterback, as great as he is, very immobile, uh, going to Sam Darnold, who's more of a traditional quarterback. Mahomes, he barely was in that system. And then, but now he's going to go from those two guys, Ben and Sam Darnold, to Lamar, who is a very mobile quarterback. And I'll talk about the injuries and I'll talk a little bit more about and why I'm not so worried about them. But my point is, I think Le'Veon Bell is going to be he's going to put up some big numbers mainly because he's going to be playing next to Lamar Jackson, and you got to worry about Lamar Jackson and his passing and running ability. Le'Veon Bell is going to be asked for a bigger role, but he's mainly going to be a pass catcher. It's going to be the Tyson Williams show. I think that this means that Latavius Murray is coming to Baltimore. If you guys did not see the tweet, she got in contact with Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray said, "I'm willing to play for anyone," and then he highlighted Baltimore, and then Latavius Murray is has a very similar skill set to Gus Edwards. So there's your replacement. Fully expect them to sign Latavius Murray, and it basically.
I think your expectations might be a bit too high
I don't know. I'm
with
not saying
Le'Veon. Oh, okay. I was just saying I don't think he's gonna put
no,
up
no, no, no. I'm not saying
big
Le'Veon Bell a
numbers.
few years ago. No, but yeah, yeah. No, what I'm saying is people are going to say like people are saying Le'Veon Bell is going to do absolutely nothing. What I'm saying is he's going to do something,
Okay.
but he's not going to be the same guy he was because the point that I was making is that he's going to have Lamar as the quarterback, and then who's more mobile than Ben, right? Because I've seen people say, well, he's washed, he's averaged 4 yards per carry, everything else. But you got to think about it, he's going to go from a different type of quarterback. He's going to go to a different type of run blocking scheme. He's going to go to a different role with Greg Roman, and and that's going to be what's interesting there. And he's going to be mainly used as a pass catcher. Like that's the thing. Now maybe he might be used now more as a running back. But the point I'm trying to say is people aren't taking into account the context of the situation he's going into in Baltimore. Like they're saying, oh, based on what he looked like with the pitiful Jets, he's going to look worse. He's not going to look good in Baltimore when you got to consider he was playing for the Jets. He was not involved in the Kansas City scheme, right? So you're basically saying, but now he's going to the Ravens. So I think he's definitely going to definitely play better than what people think. He's not going to be a star. Now, like I said, Latavius Murray, I would be shocked if he's not in Baltimore by Monday. They also went out and got Trent Cannon as well. He went to Virginia State University. Speedster back. His 10-yard time allegedly is about 1.8 seconds. On special teams use, looks like he's going to be used mainly as a runner. What's terrifying for other teams is Lamar is already fast. You got to protect against Lamar. Trenton Cannon, the guy they just got. The thing about Trenton Cannon is he is really fast. Like I said, that 10-yard time is 1.8 seconds. I think there's only 9 other guys that in NFL history that have gotten close to that. If you have to run the RPO with those 2 guys to watch out for that, that's just way too much speed. That could be too much speed for a team to deal with. So he's not going to have a big role. And then what else? I mean, I'm excited to see what they do in Vegas. It's clearly going to be Josh Oliver. It's clearly going to be one of the bigger winners. He's going to have a bigger impact. Devin Duvernay, do not be surprised if he's used as an emergency running back. And a lot of the tight ends. You're going to see Hollywood and Sammy Watkins play to a degree. Rashad Bateman should come back. The Ravens did have those injuries early in the year, early in training camp. Those guys should come back soon with Jimmy Smith. They are going to be pretty deep. I mean, with if Peters is down for the year, then you got Chris Westry and Anthony Averett. So they still have pieces there that they can use. I would say that. So now we can go into the Mark Andrews extension. What was your first thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think that's good value. He's one of the best tight ends in the league. I will say you're probably a lot more optimistic about the team than I thought you would be after all these injuries. I think when you look at what the Ravens fans say on social media, I feel like you're like, and like there's all those corners, and then you're like in the like total opposite corner with some other fans, I think, as well. So I was definitely a bit surprised by that. I think these 2 injuries. I think Marcus Peters is the bigger injury here, at least in my opinion. I think he's your best corner. I know Jimmy Smith is good. I know Marlon Humphrey. I know Marley Humphrey's really good too. He's ridiculous.
The thing about Marcus Peters is that he can bite quickly. That's what I'm also balancing out here with.
What do you mean he can bite quickly?
Like if someone doesn't move on him really quickly, because Marcus is so aggressive and he tries to predict the play, if someone tries to pull a move, he might jump in front and I can just go through him. So I'm balancing out because I'm thinking more about the depth that they have, and obviously this is not quality, but knowing this team and knowing that they don't go. The reason why they don't go after the big name free agents is because of situations like this. And if you look at the way this roster is built, that I could see ways that if you take Marcus Peters out of the equation and you put you could work around it. Like you could have Patrick Queen you could use Patrick Queen slightly different to make up for the loss. You could use Ardarius Washington in the middle of the field and make up a little bit of what that would happen. So the Ravens are a smart enough organization that they value versatility. Now, obviously, you don't want to lose these guys, but they do have that tool there. Now, fans, they just look at the name. They just think emotionally from everything. I try to think logically.
Yeah.
And you have to, so I try to look at each move as, all right, what are the 5 or 6 observations? And I try to think of these other moves. So the reason why I am optimistic is because I try to think more of the context and not, oh, wow, we lost Marcus Peters, but more so of we lost our second corner, but some of our injuries happened earlier in training camp. And like I said, Jimmy Smith is practicing.
Mm-hmm.
So practicing, and if you do, and then Tavon Young, by the way, no one's talking about this. Tavon Young
I forgot about him.
healthy.
I actually forgot about him
Yeah,
just because he's been banged up all the time.
Yeah, and then you got Ardarius Washington, and you got Geno Stone, and you have these pieces. So they're one of these organizations that the reason why I'm so happy that they don't go out and get these big name guys is because they can go and find those pieces to say, well, we're going to use player X differently, that player Y is going to be used differently. So I try to avoid the emotion. I try to think about the logic. That's why for me I'm more optimistic. But yeah, keep going.
No, yeah, like I was just like a little surprised just because like, this like could potentially put a damper excuse me, on the season. I don't know why my voice is being really groggy right now. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, I think. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be
And they got lucky.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be more pressure on Lamar now to perform without all of these weapons. I mean, I really think a lot of people are going to look to him now. And
they're going to here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to look to him like, okay, you're without your running backs. How are you going to perform now that they need you? I guess the most is what I'm trying to say. You have your receivers that will be healthy at some point. You have one of the best tight ends in football. How do you perform? And I really think as well. So your offense is built through the run, but this is going to be the biggest test I think for him with terms of the passing game. You gotta now you actually are gonna have to pass a lot more than normal because you don't have almost all your running backs that have been homemade, homegrown. They're not there. So how much do you trust them? And so you're gonna have to really. People are gonna around the league are gonna look to see how he progresses as a passer.
Yeah, no. So yeah, to answer your question, one of the aspects that Greg Roman and they want to focus on was involving the running backs more in the passing game. So I think like Devin Duvernay can be used as a running back. Brandon Stevens might be an emergency running back. I don't want Pat Ricard running the ball, but you still have him there. Tyson Williams looked pretty good in the preseason. So they have the option there. So my point being is they kind of got lucky with like the fact that the Saints cut Latavius Murray, and Latavius Murray has an interest in Baltimore, and Latavius Murray plays like Gus Edwards. It's not the ideal situation, but it's one of those things where you would rather, if you had a bad injury or if you had something bad going against you at least, and that's kind of like my point with Murray, and then with the roster, you can get creative. Like Devin Duvernay, who wasn't going to get much snaps anyway as a receiver, he might be used as a Deebo Samuel type guy. He might be used as a Ty Montgomery type guy, or even a Curtis Samuel. So they can go and shift these routes. So on the Lamar thing, Lamar is obviously going to with all this pressure. Honestly, no. Like here's my thoughts on Lamar. If he gets to the AFC Championship game and loses, hypothetically, then the argument is, to a Super Bowl. If he gets to a Super Bowl and loses, it'll be, he can get you a Super Bowl, but he can't help you win a Super Bowl. If he wins a Super Bowl, then it'll be, he got lucky. He can't do it more than once. You see where I'm going with this? Like the goalposts keep moving further and further back, even though he's improving every single year. Like his spiral apparently is a lot tighter than it was before. And I think that
I do think he still needs to prove himself more as a passer. Like he got better last year. But I think now this is
absolutely
with all these weapons out that he's gonna have to prove with how this league is a passing league now. He's gonna have to prove that he can throw, maybe 30 to 35 times a game at times. And I don't know if he can do that yet.
No. But here's the balancing though. Here's the other thing though. The Ravens run an efficient offense. Like they're not they don't run a passing offense that requires him to throw it like 30 yards like outside the numbers every once, like more than other teams. What they can do is if Lamar were to have to throw, they could very well see Lamar, like the Ravens going to Lamar and saying, look, you have Andrews, you got Josh Oliver, who is going to be a big part. And I've seen a lot of Ravens fans crap that trade when it was happening. Yeah, look at it now. Rashad Bateman or Tyler Wallace, like all these guys, they're gonna have to catch like if he's throwing 30 to 35 times and they have that defense to limit the score, because remember, they have a good defense. They have good special teams. But if he has to throw 30 to 35 times, like 7 to 10 yards, if that's where the majority is, and it's all these 3rd and 5s, 2nd and 5s, for like 3rd and 4s, right? If the Ravens are in that situation most of the time, then they're going to be good. So it's not necessarily a matter of the volume of passing, it's what the passing game looks like. If they can dominate in that first 15 yards and prove that they can keep making those passes, you know that Ravens defense is going to slow down the other team. You know that they got Justin Tucker. You know that they can get points. So when you think of it more in a sense of point and in lack of time, like what they can do is they can go in and score points, take as much time off the clock. Now you're talking about keeping the margins the same, if not more.
Yeah, that might have to be the play, is like long sustained drives without all these running backs to,
and then also turnovers on defense. Like turnovers on defense. But like I said, if Latavius Murray comes to Baltimore and then it's Latavius Murray, it's Don Williams and Trenton Cannon, and then you have Mark Andrews, who he has trust with. You have Josh Oliver, who is only available because of some slight injury concerns, but he looks like he's healthy. And by the way, one of the things they were missing last year was Hayden Hurst. So Josh Oliver is your Hayden Hurst now. So instead of Pat Ricard as your third tight end, it's Josh Oliver as your third tight end. Nick Boyle is going to be back as a blocking tight end. You're going to have Ronnie Stanley. You're going to have a center who can actually snap the ball. So I think that when you look at what they have, they can work around that. And but I mean, Andrews definitely deserves the money for sure. I think Lamar is going to get his contract soon. Yeah. I think that if you're on fantasy, the Mark Andrews stock, Hollywood Brown stock, Sammy Watkins stock is all up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't personally think Sammy Watkins is that good anymore. You know, maybe he proves me wrong this year. Just the level of play is really dipped. Want to see if Hollywood Brown can be consistent enough probably in that offense. I know Ravens fans always harp on him because of the drops, I think, if that's correct, just because he's always.
But he's also the second weapon. He's also the second one of two weapons in the passing offense. Like, you also have to imagine they went out and got 2 receiving coaches. Yeah. So this is the last point I'm going to make before you can talk Steelers. But this is the last point. But remember, they went out and got the guy Keith Williams. This guy coached Tyreek Hill. This coached Sammy Watkins. Those are 3 pretty good receivers, right? And you could look at Tyreek Hill and Hollywood Brown as very similar players to each other. T. Martin, who has he coached? Smith-Schuster. He's coached Robert Woods. He's coached Marquise Lee. He made Sam Darnold look good, right? So now you're talking about 2 receiving coaches that are focusing on the details. So, and I've always harped on some of these smaller details, like the first step, as if you're a receiver, how you look at the line of scrimmage looking like. If those are improved, and you have Hollywood, if you're Hollywood, and your first few steps are great, and you have Lamar as quarterback, you have the speed that Hollywood has, the defense is going to focus so much on Lamar that if he gets time, Hollywood can get 5-10 yards ahead of everyone else, and Lamar can just throw it right to him. So I think that Hollywood, they definitely tried to improve the passing game. But yeah, I think we'll see what they do there. Do you want to talk about the Steelers and TJ?
Yeah, so it's
Watt and everything else.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I mean, I'm kind of tired of the way this organization operates with these kind of contracts. They're what we call dinosaurs with these, right? So the Steelers have always believed that they don't like to give out guaranteed money after the first year of their contract. Okay, that's cool in the 1980s. It's cool in the 90s. It's cool in the 2000s. But we're in 2021 now, and most of these players want guaranteed money throughout their contracts. The thing here, this is your best player. If another player walks up to you and says, "Oh, I want that kind of contract," you say, no, we're not going to bend our rules for you because you're not TJ Watt. Minkah Fitzpatrick is up next year, right? He's the other player that you'll probably do this for. You're not Minkah Fitzpatrick. You're not TJ Watt. We're not going to do that for you. I think you can bend your rules for your top player on the team at least a little bit. I mean, he wants to be here. He practiced yesterday. He practiced today. He's not going to miss the game. If he really wanted to, he could keep
You're
holding
about
out.
to have a rookie quarterback.
What was that? What did you say? Sorry.
You're going to have a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of salary cap space that's going to be coming off the books next year. You have the money to pay him. So, sorry. Give him his guaranteed money. You're making yourselves look cheap by doing this little dance, this little circus. You're going round and round for no reason. I get it. You're a long-standing organization. You've been doing things your way for over 50 years. I get it. You don't want to change, but you know what? You either adapt or die. And this is a player that you give whatever the hell he wants. And Ben Roethlisberger said that. Cam Hayward said that. Minkah Fitzpatrick said that today. He even also said that he's been paying attention to this to see how good the organization does this. So not the best ringing endorsement, I don't think, so far for your best two defensive players, I guess. So they got to get this handled, I would hope, before the game. I mean, again, I was listening to the Rich Eisen show the other day, and he goes, yeah, I mean, again, an agent comes up to you that's not TJ Watt, or a player that comes up to you that doesn't have an agent represented by that same person or whatever, and they want the same kind of contract. You just say, no, you're not TJ Watt. We're not bending the rules for you. That's what we gave to him because he's our best player, and that's how the Steelers should treat him. You are our best player. We are going to pay you as such, and we'll give you whatever you want. So they got to quit this stupid back and forth thing of guaranteed money and not trying to give out a lot of guaranteed money, because you know what? That's where the league is going. Like, it's really upsetting that the front office is being really cheap with their best player. It kind of reminds me of the Nationals a little bit. I expect better from the Rooney family. I will say that. As with regards to the game, Stephon Tuitt's not going to play. Alu is. Alex Highsmith, they're hoping he missed practice today, which is not good. But Keith Butler has said he's hoping to have him ready. That would not be good if he's not able to play, because I think that would mean Melvin Ingram would get the start. I mean, I like him, but Alex Highsmith is the better player, I think, at this point. Offensively, everyone's basically healthy. I hope I don't have a sneeze coming here. Oh, God. No, it keeps coming up and going away. I don't expect the Steelers to win this game. I'll say that. I think they'll probably lose by a touchdown. I think they'll keep it close for the most part. I just don't expect them to win because I know how good Buffalo is. I know how good they're going to be this year, and they're definitely they're a Super Bowl contender. So it's a nice test right out of the gate. We get to see where the offense is at, get to see if the defense can stop Josh Allen. He really played his tail off this past year. But I definitely don't think they're going to win. I would be a bit surprised if they did. But, we'll see. Any given Sunday, they played Buffalo close last year, but, they played them close until about halftime when Ben threw that pick six, and that's when the game turned in the Bills' favor. So we'll have to see. There's really nothing else going on right now with regards to Steelers. I'm just ready to get this show underway.
Yeah, no, yeah, just one quick thing, though. So Ben has, one more year left on his deal?
Yep.
Okay, so we're assuming that they draft a rookie. This is if you can sign TJ Watt to $27 to $31 million a year, because the majority of his money is going to be the next 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So is that a fair assumption? Okay. Him and Fitzpatrick, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, and the quarterback, which we all recognize, and by the way, the quarterback, the running back, the receivers, we all recognize that these are the most expensive players, right? And we're getting them at a reduced cost because they're going to be essentially on rookie deals. Like Najee Harris isn't going to be a free agent for another. He's not eligible for contract extension for another 3 years.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's up in like 4 or 5 years, I think.
Claypool is not a free agent. Claypool has 2 more years before he's due for a contract.
Pretty sure, yeah.
And then I think one of the topics we'll talk about is the state of the quarterback class. If the Steelers do take one of these guys, now you're talking about a lot of cap space that why not? And really, T.J. Watt is what the majority of his money is going to be what next year, the year after that.
I would say it's probably going to be. It would be front loaded, and that's what they should do. I mean, there's just no point to keep delaying this. Pay him. I mean, this is not rocket science. You bend the rules for someone like this. This is your best player. You don't.
And you know where the market's going. Like you know that Bosa's contract's coming up. No, yeah, no. Joey could get paid soon, right? Nick Bosa, he's due for a new contract after this year.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot of money. It might break TJ's, to be honest. I mean, it's expected to be the highest paid defensive player in the league if he signs it. So
yeah, and then Chase Young is what?
He'll get a lot of money.
And then who else? And then Montez Sweat.
Yeah, he'll get a lot of money too.
If I'm the Steelers, I'm signing TJ Watt right now before those guys. He was Lamar. It's like sign Lamar now before Baker and Josh Allen get their contracts. So we'll preview today's game, which is Buccaneers Cowboys. I mean, it should be a quick preview. We both think Buccaneers are going to win this, right?
I think I'm Tampa Bay minus 9.5. Bruce Arians is going to Tech this weekend. Yeah, I mean, I have Zeke in fantasy. I'd like if he kicked butt. Who knows if that actually happens, though? I haven't won one of my teams, but I think Tampa should win this. It'll probably be 7-10. I'm taking Tampa Bay minus 9.5. Excuse me, my voice is killing me again. But I think Tampa Bay wins by 10. It's my guess. But it'll be nice to have football back. I'm pretty sure Tampa Bay will be selling out their stadium. I think they have full capacity. I don't know what their vaccination status is down there.
It's Florida.
Yeah, it is Florida. Yeah. So they probably don't have any rules. But it'll be still nice. It's still nice to see full crowds coming back, even though it's in Florida. But it's nice to have football back now. We made it. Should be a fun game. It's always fun to listen to Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth and all that. But I think Tampa Bay wins it, though. Dallas's offense, that'll be interesting. I'm curious to see how they do. Dak Prescott's fully healthy.
Zach Martin.
Yeah, that's true, too. It's a big loss. Again, Zeke's back. Dak's healthy. Cooper's there. Gallup's there. It should be. I would not be surprised if this is a high-scoring game.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to some college football news. We basically had 3 or 4 things here. UNC and then beating Middle Tennessee this week.
Yeah, so again, love seeing us beat UNC. Justin Fuente is now 5-1 against them. For all these recruits that pick UNC over VT, I hope they're kind of reconsidering it right now.
Jennings.
Yeah, I would hope he would be. I saw Cameron Kelly get owned a lot in that game. I don't know if you remember that he committed a tag, decommitted, and then went to Auburn, then went to UNC.
Grimes?
So, Tony Grimes, I don't know if he played that much, but
or no.
I like seeing him take the L with that one too, because he just for some reason hates Tech because his family's just a bunch of weirdos. But love seeing Cameron Kelly get owned and then take a flag as well. But Sam Howell, if that's your Heisman quarterback, people, I mean, come on. He played like garbage. I mean, and people say that's your top quarterback prospect for this year's draft. Nope, not mine. I don't think I'd pick him till a mid round after what I just saw. That was awful from him. He played terrible.
Well, then who's the top? We'll bring up the quarterbacks here, but I mean, Rattler didn't look that great either. I mean, are we talking Malik Willis?
Willis might be a top 5-10 pick.
What about Carson Strong, the guy from Nevada?
Yep.
And maybe it's a receiver. Maybe it's John Michie the third or something from Alabama. Maybe it's him. But do you obviously we both have trepidation about do you think that Fuente can get these guys focused enough to play. To
I mean, they should.
treat.
I mean, this is a trap game. Middle Tennessee State is not good.
You already guess who the quarterback is?
Who is their quarterback?
Bailey Hawkman.
Who is that?
Remember NC State last year?
Yeah.
Quarterback NC State was Bailey Hawkman last year. He's now in Middle Tennessee. He's starting this week.
He started for them against us? That's hilarious. I actually never even knew
Yeah,
that.
no, he started. Dennis Leary was the backup, but it was Bailey Hawkman that got to start. And you remember what happened that game. Bailey Hawkman did not look that good. And NC State probably has more talent than Middle Tennessee, so I expect this team. I feel sorry for the Middle Tennessee O-line because they don't have the biggest O-line there. We saw what happened with the 6 sacks. UNC's O-line looked really bad. Middle Tennessee is not, and then we made Bailey Hawkman look nervous last year, and that was with NC State's O-line.
Yeah, I mean, they should probably win this game by at least 2 possessions, probably 3 or 4.
I want to see Knox Kadum in the fourth quarter.
That'd be nice. Just, don't play down to crappy competition. You're ranked now. Maybe you should try to build off this. They have West Virginia, a trip to Morgantown after this game. Not a friendly place to play, especially with where that rivalry is going to be again. Those 2 teams now like each other. But focus on this week. You just beat a top 10 team at Lane Stadium for the first time in a decade, at least a decade. Go out, take care of business, get to 2-0. Your schedule is honestly not hard. You have West Virginia, then you have Richmond, I think they play, or something like that, to get to 4-0 potentially. This team could be, after the first quarter of the season, they could be 4-0. I mean, they have Pitt coming up at Lane Stadium, Syracuse. Honestly, through 7 games, they could be 6-1 or something. I don't want to jump the gun yet, but the schedule is not that weak until it gets. It's not that strong until it gets later on. But let's just go week by week. I don't want to jinx them.
Yeah. Let's just we don't know if there's gonna be a team. If Notre Dame's gonna have a team.
Yeah. Stupid Brian Kelly is just. I put out a tweet, man. It sounds like what Emperor Palpatine is saying during the Jedi Purge is to execute Order 66. So it was a trying to be a clever joke because it was said a long time ago, but the delivery was so bad.
Yeah, and did he expect anyone to know who that coach was?
Probably not the younger audience, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, and then I think that yeah, and so I mean, I agree. I think that they need to win today's game on Saturday.
They should be able to. Yeah. You got West Virginia. That's a huge rivalry game, man. I mean, those 2 teams have hated each other for a long time. You're playing in Morgantown. That's a hostile environment. I don't care how bad or good they are. It's always a tough place to play. Take care of business against this team. Put the backups in the fourth quarter. Should be good to go going into next week's matchup in West Virginia.
Yeah, no.
I liked what I saw from Braxton. I thought he was better than I thought. James Mitchell is going to be a draft pick, I think, I think he will be a day 2 pick. I think I'm thinking day 2 pick.
Late third. I can see late third.
Okay. Yeah. Late third. I'm thinking day 2 pick right now, maybe probably day 3, but day 2 is definitely arguable, I think. Trey Turner looked good.
Well, think about it. Typically late third, early fourth.
Yeah. I think that's probably it. I mean, Jermaine Waller, that he's going to be going to the draft. He'll get picked. I think that's a day 2 pick right there, to be honest.
Amari Barno's a high helium guy.
I think if he has a really strong season, that's a first-round pick.
Really think that. Because I've heard people. I saw someone bring up the Hassan Reddick comparison with him.
Yeah, I did see that as well. I mean, people are really hyping him up after that game, even going into this season. I really liked what he did. I liked Dax's performance. Chamari Connor looked really good. Dorian Strong looked good. That secondary might be nasty this year, man. I mean, that might be a nasty secondary. I mean, and I'll leave Crow on Justin Hamilton. Also, his defense, he coached a heck of a game against UNC. That is the best game he's ever coached.
Yeah, and
I will,
Yeah,
and if he keeps that up, I will continue to crow on him. I was not high on him going into this year. Probably his first year, probably was a bit nervous and stuff, but he looks like he's learned some stuff, and I really thought he coached a good game against UNC.
yeah. No, what I want to say is, well, keep in mind they never started off the season last year on a steady foot, like especially their defense. Because remember, Caleb Farley opted out. Then you had Justin Hamilton. Remember, he had C-19, and then you had three different defensive coordinators for the first 3 games, and then it really wasn't until middle of the year when they actually when it looked like at that point in time it was the middle of the year. This time around, it looks like Hamilton is understood. He understands his team a lot better. The team is a lot more complete. And I think this defense is going to be a lot better than what people say it is, because they look. Because I was looking at some of the season previews, and they were saying, keep in mind, Tech was hit hard by C-19. They were hit hard by that, and this year they're not right now, and their potential definitely helps. I mean, you're talking about Middle Tennessee. You're talking what was it? Middle Tennessee, West Virginia, Notre Dame. Now, do I think them getting ranked was indicative of the way they played? No, I don't think so. I mean, and the reason is because I think the schedule makers are looking at that Tech Notre Dame game, and I think that they're goosing up Virginia Tech to make that matchup look good.
Curious to see if game day comes for that if both teams are doing really well.
Yeah,
would not be surprised.
Yeah, you know what? It was Syracuse getting ranked a year ago, or what was it, a year or 2 years ago, where Syracuse was like in the 20s or something. Like they were ranked in the 20s because they were playing Clemson like week 2 or week 3, and so the idea was to goose up Syracuse to make that matchup look good, even though we knew what would happen because Clemson broke the brakes out of Syracuse in that game when they played, but I don't really look at these rankings as like, oh wow, we went from unranked to a big game against a potential top 10 team in a few weeks. They probably just want to set up that matchup. But no, if they keep winning, it's up to Virginia Tech to keep winning. And if they keep winning, now you're talking about them potentially, I don't know, you're talking about them potentially earning that ranking. Yeah. And with that being said, we can move on to our second story, which is the ACC. And we can briefly talk about
that was bad. Duke losing to freaking Charlotte, who I think has never beaten a Power 5 team before. I actually think that was true. I don't think that was, I think, one of their first wins, if not their first win over a Power 5 program. So don't really know how long David Cutcliffe is going to survive there. I don't even know how many. I don't think they're going to win the game. Georgia Tech, that rebuild is definitely going a bit slow. Lost to Northern Illinois, who's really bad. I will say Florida State, that's the best I've seen them play in 5 years. Mike Norvell is going to have them at least average, I think, this year. But yeah, North Carolina, they're definitely overrated. Miami did not look. I mean, I understand, playing Bama. No one's going to hate you for losing to Alabama, but you couldn't even keep it semi-close. And that was embarrassing. And, that's Manny Diaz for you. Miami's just going to continue to be mediocre, I think, for a long time. Pitt, I don't really think is that good. Boston College might be decent this year, but the ACC definitely struggled quite a lot this last weekend.
Yeah, and that's gonna be pretty tough. Because I think people are saying that Clemson, because they're saying that Clemson. We'll kind of go into the one. Get to the new headline, which is Clemson.
I just want to say there's breaking news. So TJ Watt has made significant progress, and it's expected to be completed in the next day.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but so Clemson is being a playoff team. After that loss, I was watching ESPN, and they're saying, yeah, Clemson isn't really a playoff team, not because of the team they had. I mean, first of all, I think that they lost Trevor Lawrence, they lost ET. Yeah, and offensive line really did struggle. and it's going to be. And Justin Ross still isn't 100%. They don't really have options there. Two questions here. Is Clemson's reign almost over? And the second question is, could Clemson recover and be a playoff team? Given the state as
so, they'll make the playoff. I don't think they'll lose an ACC game. I mean, who are they going to lose to? Boston College, Florida State? Probably not. I mean, sure, they're replacing a lot of weapons. They have a new quarterback, but they also play Georgia, who is probably one of the biggest challengers to Alabama this year, right? They have one of the best defenses in the country. I'm not surprised that they struggled against them. But I expect them to run the table and not only get to the championship game, but win it. I mean, ACC that is. And they'll go to the playoff. But that said, they lose another game, they will not go to the playoff. I don't care if they win the ACC championship. But I think they will make the playoff. Now, can they beat Alabama? No. Can they beat Ohio State? No. I don't think they'll beat those two teams. Can they beat Georgia? Probably not. Oklahoma? Yes. I think they're one and done once they get in the playoff. This is my opinion, though. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, no. I think it's going to be tough. I think that it's tough because on one hand, I think that teams from the major conferences should be represented, but at the same time, I don't want to see a team that doesn't deserve representation to be represented. That's an issue that I have. Clemson should be a playoff team because I think that college football is the one point where you can win with style, and I don't think having a weak ACC team or beating a team that's ranked, ACC team, having the ACC team being ranked in the conference championship should matter for Clemson. If they are blowing out their opponents, the only thing that they can control is the teams they play and the conference that they're in. If the conference that they're in is the ACC, is especially the Coastal, is nearing the NFC least in terms of quality. Let's make that point clear. Clemson cannot control that. Clemson cannot control their schedule. So if they win with style, they deserve to be considered for a playoff team. I don't understand. I'm now starting to understand that I think that whenever they say, well, Clemson can't do it because the ACC is bad, it's just code for we don't want an ACC team in the playoffs. We want an SEC team like a Georgia in the playoffs, or we want another team in the playoffs. So that's kind of where
I think right now the favorites are Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson. That's just my opinion. Also, before we get back to this, the contract, 4 years, $112 million, $28 million per year, $80 million fully guaranteed for TJ Watt. Highest paid defensive player in football. That's what you do, man. You pay your best player whatever he wants. I don't care how much money that is. You give in, you pay him. That's what you do. That's how sports work. But go ahead. Just going back to the ACC stuff. Yeah, I mean, I know people are going to talk about, well, their schedule's cheap. They're not playing any good teams. ACC stinks. Yeah, okay, I get it. The ACC is not that good this year. But, I mean, they're still one of the best teams in the country year after year. Are they going to beat Ohio State or Alabama? No. But they're probably a better team than Oklahoma. And at the end of the day, that's probably all that matters.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I think that I'm starting to think that there's always these issues. Like analysts they're saying, well, this team's good or bad for a reason X or Y, but there's another reason for it. And I think that if it were up to ESPN, I honestly think that they would probably have Alabama, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. I honestly believe like that is basically if they could set the playoffs just to that, like if it was Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and either a team like Georgia or LSU and they could set that every year and they can manipulate the schedule, yeah, you better believe the like ESPN and these sites they are going to try to do that. And so it's going to be tough. And then our last story is going to be the 2022 draft class. They struggled early. Spencer Rattler, just to put out some names, guys who could be drafted: Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell, Malik Willis, Carson Strong, Brock. I didn't see what Brock Purdy did. Kenny Pickett. I mean, Kenny Pickett, I think is a day 2, day 3 pick. But this could be one of the best draft classes. They didn't show it in week 1.
Yeah, it was definitely not the best quarterback games. That's for sure. I don't know how good this class is going to be. I don't know if there's a franchise quarterback in this class. I just don't. I know Malik Willis is there. Honestly, he might be the best quarterback from this class. I mean, that's how it's looking like right now, man. I mean, I was not impressed by anyone this weekend except him. Just my opinion. But long season, we'll see if they'll rebound. I'm sure some will, but it was definitely not a good start.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. People think one of these guys is going to be picked in the top 5, whether they deserve it or not. One of these guys is going to be picked in the top 5 for sure.
Yeah, I think one of them will. I don't know which one yet.
Yeah, and I think we'll end the show there. All I'm going to say to end the show is if the Ravens make the playoffs with all these injuries, man, Lamar is just give Lamar his money. Just give Lamar his money. If they were to make the playoffs, let's make this point clear. Latavius Murray, hypothetically, Latavius Murray, Le'Veon Bell, Trenton Cannon, and Tyson Williams.
Let's just say, I don't think the Ravens will make the playoffs with all these injuries, but if they did, it would be, I think, quite an accomplishment if they did, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, also, I'll be fair here. They did have a bunch of those injuries from earlier. Yeah, they will be back, and really, it's concentrated in the running back room. But the thing is, a little bit lucky with the fact that the Saints cut Latavius Murray, so he can kind of come in there and soften the blow. They went out and made these true trades to get Josh Oliver, who, by the way, I think Josh Oliver is going to make a big impact early on. And then Rashad Bateman is recovering faster. So I think they have the depth that if they need to pivot, they can pivot. Even if it's becoming more of a passing game, it's always going to be more efficient. So, and then with the Steelers, we'll end with they did the right thing. They gave TJ Watt more.
Yeah, I mean,
less than I thought.
Again, man. Yeah, you pay him whatever he wants. That's I don't care if it's $80 million guaranteed. That's what he deserves. I don't care if it's 100. He's your best player. Minkah Fitzpatrick is gonna get another big contract next year too. Probably not as big as this. It'll be deserved. You pay your 2 best players. That's how it goes.
Well, here's the question though. In general, let's take away your fandom. Take away your fandom.
Okay,
yeah. Just for 1 second here. Smart to pay your pass rushers 28, 30 million a year. Assuming, let's say you had a rookie quarterback, or assuming you had, assuming that, let's say your tackles, they have to get paid at some point. But if you're in a situation, let's say do you think in general, if it's not a TJ Watt type guy, right? If it's not a TJ Watt tier level pass rusher, do you think that it's wise to give pass rushers $25 million over? We're not talking Myles Garrett. We're not talking TJ.
No. I do not think so. I think if it's a regular run of the mill, honestly, even if it's an above average pass rusher, no, I don't think that's wise.
Yeah, but I mean, and like I said, it's probably smart that the Steelers are in a place where they can pay. But I'm just happy with the Ravens. They don't really sign pass rushers, so they don't have to worry about paying a guy $28-29 million a year. I mean, yeah, we'll see what Odafe Oweh does, and we'll see what Dalen Hayes does. We'll see what Justin Houston does. But I'm excited to see what the Ravens do against the Raiders. I think that should be a win. I understand Marcus Peters is out for the year, but like I said, I'll just conclude with the Ravens are good at building depth, and I think that it's not the ideal situation, but they do have the ability to maneuver around certain pieces around, and change up the roles. But it'll be interesting to see what they do this year. It'll be interesting to see how healthy they are. Maybe it's the fact that this was the Ravens are traditionally a harder team, and then last year in the pandemic, last year because of C-19, training camp was different. So then it's sort of like, well, we haven't. It's been 2-3 years since then. So they probably did that, and that's probably it's a lot of freak injuries. But man, if there is a team that can weather this storm, it's probably Baltimore, and it's probably good that some of their injuries happened earlier this training camp. So we'll see you guys next week. We'll recap week 1 of the and we'll do preview week 3 of college football. If there are baseball news, we'll talk about baseball news. I just didn't think that the Tampa Bay Rays GM getting a 2-year extension, even though he did go to Virginia Tech, was newsworthy. And then I know last year there was a whole big deal about how potentially the new CBA could use they might do like an age-based system for like free agent, like when a guy can become a free agent. I didn't think that was newsworthy enough to do. So we'll see if there's baseball news next week, but it'll definitely be some more college football and NFL news. And it'll be next Friday as well.
It'll be Friday, 100%.
All right, see you.
All right, see you, man.